always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, it sure is. Live from the heartland, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Who do you want in your foxhole? Who do you want there? It's just breaking daylight, and we've got a lot of work to do, so let's get moving. A warning. The Steve Gruber Show often results in extended periods of American pride, optimism, and uncontrollable enthusiasm in America's future. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Rachel Maddow, in complete denial about the utter failure of her soon-to-be former network, MSNBC, that's rolled out a very odd rebranding. Doesn't matter because she won't be there. She will be fired. Number two, Tulsi Gabbard dropped the hammer on Tuesday and revoked security clearances for 37 former and current intel officials over the bogus Russiagate fiasco. More to come, by the way. Number three, this has just been on my mind, folks. We've got to talk about this. We're still dealing with the consequences of 4 years of open borders. More specifically, 3 people paid the ultimate price last week in Florida when an illegal alien caused a crash with a semi-truck he should have never been driving in the first place. 28-year-old Harjinder Singh, currently under arrest after causing this crash on the Florida Turnpike. The video captures his reaction, or lack thereof. He practically decapitates a black minivan while trying to make an illegal U-turn, blocking all lanes of traffic and leaving everyone in the van dead. Singh seems to show absolutely no remorse over his actions. None. No surprise, no concern. Just a casual indifference over actions that cost the lives of 3 Florida residents, a 37-year-old woman from Pompano Beach, 54-year-old man from Miami, and the driver, a 30-year-old guy from Florida City. They all died. Florida is charging Singh with 3 counts of vehicular homicide, and Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier says he plans on going after him with the full weight of the law, but we should never have been here. Listen.
Well, yeah, I can confirm we're not going to deport or let this guy out of our sights until we have convicted him and ensured that he is behind bars for as long as possible, likely the rest of his life. Only then will we hand him over to ICE for deportation, but he's going to serve his time.
He's going to serve his time. But the point stands that Singh should never have been driving that semi-truck or any vehicle in the first place. He crossed into the United States illegally in 2018. And California gave him a commercial driver's license with no regard to his immigration status or his ability to understand English or even read basic traffic signs. He was completely unqualified to operate any motor vehicle at any speed on any U.S. roadway, period. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who gave this illegal a license to kill, has tried to deny all wrongdoing, responding to DHS Director Kristi Noem on Twitter that the illegal alien entered the U.S. in 2018 under Trump's presidency. He claims that the Trump administration gave Singh work authorization, which allowed him the CDL under California law. But that's all a lie, Governor. You see, California's Assembly Bill 60 passed all the way back in 2015. It only allows undocumented immigrants to apply for a driver's license if they can provide proof of identity. Newsom himself even took the time to include in his little comeback his belief that providing undocumented immigrants with driver's licenses improves public safety. Yeah, improves public safety. Blood all over the highway in Florida, and he's talking about how it improves public safety. Can you imagine making that claim in the face of this kind of devastating tragedy to the families of 3 people killed by an idiot? And more importantly, Singh was actually denied a work permit by the Trump administration in 2020. It wasn't until 2021, under Joe Biden, that he was given work authorization. Exactly what you would expect from an open borders administration. Should also be noted that even though Singh entered this country illegally in 2018, 7 years ago, he's still waiting on his asylum hearing. You see, something he obviously won't be granted now, but why hasn't a decision been handed down yet? And the answer is simple. Joe Biden let in millions of illegals during his time in office, and the system is so bogged down that we're going to keep paying the price because you can't catch up, no matter how hard we work to secure our border. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants more than just Singh to be held accountable. He thinks sanctuary states and cities should pay the price too. Here's the governor's reaction.
Yes, you shouldn't be giving illegals driver's license. We don't allow that in Florida. California does. They've issued probably over 1 million licenses to illegals in recent years. But to have somebody like that on our roadways putting people in jeopardy, yes, criminally prosecute him, the illegal, 100%. But I think it's got to go beyond that, and I think we got to get tougher on this nationally. You know, one of the frustrations we've had in Florida, we don't recognize illegal alien driver's license from any other state. We don't issue them from our state. We don't recognize any ID cards issued by local governments, NGOs, you name it. We've tried to create an environment that makes it inhospitable for people to want to come illegally and come to Florida. California's done the opposite. They're inviting people to come to this country illegally. They'll pay for your health care. You get in-state tuition. You get all these benefits, some of which American citizens don't even get. But ultimately, I think you're going to need the Congress to use the power of the purse and defund states like California that are sanctuary states and their similar cities.
You've got to hold them accountable. You have to. How can Florida be subject to the whims of California when it puts its citizens of Florida at risk and gets them killed? Florida Congressman Brian Mast, whose district was the scene of the deadly crash, noted that Singh actually fled to California after the crime. He went there after the deadly collision. Why? He thought he'd be safe there. He thought he could hide in sanctuary California. Listen to this.
As we pointed out, this happened in your congressional district. What do you say about it?
It happened within just a few minutes of my home. Tragedy, just number one. Preventable. Like we can say with so many of these incidents related to illegal immigration, it could have been stopped if the right policies would have been adhered to. And of course, California doesn't adhere to those policies. And to really put a fine point on that, when this individual conducted this crash, had this crash and then fled somewhere, where did he flee to? He fled back to California. He's being brought back to Florida today from California, but that's where he went back to, thinking that he would be more safe there.
Yeah. Look, Florida can't fix our country on its own. Something has to be done across the board. The Trump administration has already enacted English proficiency requirements for foreign-born drivers, a move in the right direction, but we might need even more, like checks at weigh-in stations and other enforcement techniques. The American Trucking Association released a statement in response to these events saying, quote, "This is a horrific tragedy that should never have happened. While an investigation is underway, this driver's blatant disregard for highway safety and the rules of the road makes clear he should never have been behind the wheel to begin with." They go on with this. "This incident underscores the importance and urgency of the work the Trump administration is doing to audit CDL issuances nationwide, in addition to its enhanced enforcement of English language proficiency. But we remain concerned that fraudulent and non-compliant entities continue to fast-track CDL applicants with minimal, if any, training." Yeah. By the way, a mountain of violations during their investigation to Singh. I'm going to tell you how he did on the test after the fatal crash. How do you think he did on the test? Do you think he understands English? How about basic road signs? Yeah, that story still to come. Good to have you. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, picking up where we left off now. Federal regulators have uncovered a mountain of violations during their investigation to Singh. He failed an English proficiency test post-crash, by the way. And when I say failed, I mean it was an absolute disaster. He answered 2 out of 12 verbal questions correctly. And how about this? He accurately identified 1 out of 4 highway traffic signs. 1 out of 4. Now, Washington State was actually the first to issue a CDL to Singh, a regular full-term one, which asylum seekers are not even eligible for. In 2023, and it was a week later that California issued Singh another CDL, a limited-term version. But neither of those should have been given in the first place, given the fact that the man can't pass an English proficiency test, something that could have actually been discovered when, in July last month, New Mexico stopped Singh and issued him a speeding ticket. New Mexico authorities failed to issue the proficiency test during the stop, which has actually been a requirement since June. Once again, ignoring the law of the land and costing innocent people their lives. He could have been taken off the road long before this accident happened. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. Even in the conservative state of Florida, you obviously have bad actors looking to take advantage of the problem that Democrats have created. Just this summer, 8 people in Florida were arrested for their involvement in a scheme to give undocumented immigrant drivers licenses without testing in exchange for payments of about $200. 2 of those individuals were actual DMV employees. Thank God that Florida is at least cracking down on it, because otherwise we get more of this. Graphic warning here. That's a semi. That's a semi slamming into cars at a stoplight. It was occupied by 2 illegal aliens. Just went right through the entire crowd of cars in Thomasville, Alabama. 2 people died there, 4 others maimed. It's like we say, every state is a border state at the end of the day. Sanctuary states, though, continue to be the epicenter of this damage, while they continue to justify their disastrous policies trying to make it okay for the rest of us. New Jersey shielded 43-year-old illegal migrant Raul Lunez Perez from ICE despite prior DUI arrests in March and April of 2025, a domestic violence arrest in 2023, and then July last month. Sure enough, he crossed an oncoming traffic with a blood alcohol concentration 3 times the legal limit, going 60 miles an hour. He killed a woman and her 11-year-old daughter. Another 11-year-old hospitalized, maimed. Here's Homeland Security's Trisha McLaclin on the heinous crime. Listen to this one.
8-year-old and her mother are not alive today because of Governor Murphy and sanctuary city policies. In April and March of this year, this criminal illegal alien was arrested for DUI charges. Had we not had those sanctuary city policies in New Jersey, our ICE law enforcement could have worked with New Jersey law enforcement once he served his time to detain him, arrest him, and deport him. Instead, he was released back onto New Jersey streets to commit heinous crimes like this one, and it is so tragic. I pray for that family, but this is another reminder these sanctuary city policies must stop. We must shame them and name them every time we can.
Yeah, no, it's so dangerous.
Just terrible. Then from just last week from Pennsylvania, you get this.
Where a deadly hit-and-run investigation is underway involving immigration and customs enforcement. This new video shows the moment a pedestrian was hit at the intersection of 4th Avenue and Main Street near a Citgo gas station. Now we have paused the video before impact. The suspect did take off and was later arrested in Ambridge, Beaver County. And this afternoon, the coroner has identified the victim as 61-year-old Ulysses Montalvo. Police say the driver was an undocumented immigrant. He is being held by police until ICE officers arrive.
How many stories like this do we have to see? How many Americans have to die at the hands of people in this country, illegal, people that should not be here? Now, the answer is largely going to depend on the cooperation of Democrats who would rather oppose everything Donald Trump and ICE and DHS are doing instead of protecting their own residents, their own citizens, the ones that are here legally, contributing to society, not stealing from it. Earlier this year, Katie Abraham and her friend were killed when a drunk illegal alien crashed into their car. And this is what Katie's parents have to say today.
The morning of the 19th, they were at a stoplight, and they were hit in the rear driver's side at almost 80 miles an hour without any swerving, braking. Katie wound up dying on the scene, and a friend of hers wound up dying the next day in the hospital.
We didn't know that the person who killed Katie was an illegal immigrant until Tuesday. So she was killed on Sunday. We didn't find out until Tuesday. And the Urbana Police Department was great in getting us the information as soon as they could, but they didn't know where he was. It's that much more difficult to comprehend. Now this person's on the loose. We don't know where he is. They suspected he was trying to flee.
Here's a guy that wasn't productive, wasn't a good citizen, and he barreled into a vehicle with 5 women into it. And his first instinct was to get out of the car and run. And then within a day and a half was almost at the Mexico border. So to me, these are not the productive folks we want to bring into the country. You want to build a country on migrants, probably not the guy you want to stand behind to build a country.
Yeah, of course he's right. These parents don't want to be the ones that say, I told you so. They want their kids alive, and it's high time that Democrats listen to Americans who don't want their lives taken by illegals who should never be here and should not be driving on our roadways. Gavin Newsom has blood on his hands because he handed out a license to kill. How many more are still out there? That's the question today. If you're tired of being in pain every single day, try ExodusNow.com. ExodusNow.com is a holistic, natural supplement that combines 2,000 years of ancient wisdom with modern science, featuring 7 biblical ingredients, frankincense, myrrh, and cumin, paired with the groundbreaking benefits of molecular hydrogen. It's designed to soothe joint and muscle discomfort, boost your energy, and reduce inflation. I take it every day. You're living with chronic inflation? Don't suffer. Try ExodusNow.com. Try ExodusNow.com. Just getting warmed up. We'll be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. One of the big fights coming to Washington right now, in fact, it's already kind of ruled out, is that Donald Trump wants to get rid of woke it. The Smithsonian and other American museums and treasures and collections. You see, the Smithsonian, as Scott Jennings pointed out on CNN here the other day, I like watching Scott Jennings. He entertains me greatly. Pointed out that just about every display at a couple of the museums he's walked through, like the Museum of Natural History, or the Museum of American History, excuse me, is that everything's through the prism of racism. Well, I'm sorry, the whole world isn't through the prism of racism, right? It's bizarre to me. So President Trump is vowing to purge woke elements from federal museums in favor of narratives celebrating the success and positive developments of America. The museums throughout Washington and all over the country are essentially the last remaining segment of woke, he posted on Truth. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, how unaccomplished and downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. He's right. There's a lot of that garbage out there. Of course, he's getting a lot of resistance, as you can imagine. a lot of resistance. Yeah. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at Patriot Mobile. They don't believe in woke. They believe in you. They believe in this country. By the way, they give back all the time. I was sharing with you how they shared all that great equipment with Western North Carolina. Yeah, they do that all the time. Patriot Mobile, when you're a partner with them, you're partnering with America, in a sense. It's America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Its mission to put faith, family, and freedom above everything else. That's why I'm proud to partner with them, and I'm proud to use their phone for years now. Ivy and I both use Patriot Mobile. Access to all 3 major 5G U.S. networks. You'll get reliable nationwide coverage while giving back to those who serve. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you support incredible organizations like Folds of Honor, Tunnel to Towers, Boot Campaign, Soldier Strong, Warrior Rising, and more. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes switching easy. Keep your number and your phone or upgrade. It just takes minutes. Oh, and their support team, all here in the U.S. You can understand who you're talking to. PatriotMobile.com/Gruber. What are you waiting for? Join the revolution. PatriotMobile.com/Gruber or 972-PATRIOT. Give them a call. Get a free month of service right now. Be a Patriot. Patriot Mobile. All right, did you see this? Down on the southern border, they're putting a big old thick coat of black paint on the southern border wall. It's metal, of course. It's hot in Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, and California. And that's why they're putting the black paint on the southern border wall, to make it really hot to the touch, to make it smoking hot. You know, like that car seat you get in after you went into the grocery store that are black leather and you get in, woo! Yeah, like that. Say it with me, woo! Yeah, there you go. Anyhow, so they're doing that. Of course, that'll give them something to scream about, and you know, in the circles that believe that everything in America is based on race and slavery. It's not, by the way, but some people like you to believe that, you know, the original sin of slavery is the only thing that defines America. It's not, of course, but what else do they have? A lot of complaining and whimpering and gnashing of teeth, so that's what they've got. Let's see here. Oh, speaking of that, so Donald Trump meets with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska. 48 hours later, he's got the world leaders from Europe and Zelensky from Ukraine at the White House to discuss how can we get a path to peace, stop the killing between Russia and Ukraine and that war that's been going on for 3.5 years. And the people on the left, man, they don't know what to do. They can't find it in their hearts to say, you know what, Donald Trump's doing the right thing. He's actually pursuing peace, relentlessly pursuing peace. And those on the left are beside themselves. Well, it's a, you know, the B-2 and the F-35s flying over. That's just a tip of the hat to Putin. No, you idiots. That's a show of American strength. That plane that's flying over your head is the one that bombed Iran and destroyed their nuclear facilities, Mr. Putin. So we just want to be clear that if you play ball with us, our gear is a hell of a lot more lethal than what they have in Ukraine. Our skill set is a hell of a lot higher than what they have in Ukraine. Our game is a different game. And this is just the stuff you know about. What about the 25 things you don't even know about that we have in development right now that you've never seen and never heard of, but will if you play games with us? That's what that was. Anyhow, Erin Burnett, another one of the clowns over there at Chicken Noodle News, tried everything she could to get Finland's President Stubb to say, well, you know, Trump did something wrong. No. Just like Rutte and all the others in attendance said, look, without Trump, we wouldn't have a conversation. We need this conversation to start so we can end the war. Listen to this.
And he said something that was caught on a hot mic. He was talking about Putin. Let me play it for you, Mr. President.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds.
So you have told, I know in the past, Mr. President, Trump that no one can trust Putin. Right? You have the longest land border in Europe with Russia. And you have a lot of troops that are on that border, as you've told me. And that's because of Russia, right? To state the obvious. What is your response when Trump says something, even at this point, that he believes that Putin will make a deal for him, because of him?
Well, I mean, I've been involved in peace mediation before. And I think that President Trump is genuinely trying to bring this war to an end. And we're all working in that direction. But of course, you know, we are dealing with President Putin, and we do have to understand that his, you know, basic strategic aims have not changed.
They've not changed. Look, that was the end of a 5-minute fishing expedition on the behalf of Erin Burnett, trying hard to get him to say something nasty about anything. He wasn't taking the bait. Not interested in that at all. Yeah, at CNN, they just continue to attack the president, to dismiss his genuine efforts to end the war in Ukraine. It really is kind of embarrassing to what was once a pretty important news network. Chicken Noodle News, you're just not what you used to be. Here's more.
The fact that he feels he's got to check in with Putin right away, and that just as this meeting is taking place, we get news that Putin is saying, by the way, no NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine. That is unacceptable. Still feels like Trump needs Putin's approval in a way that's got to be very disturbing to Zelensky sitting there. But of course, Zelensky was a good actor. He's playing it cool. He's not biting on any of the questions he got. And hopefully what's going to happen is they're going to go into this meeting with European officials, and
Good
the
Lord,
Europeans are saying,
enough.
we
Here's
need
the
to
thing.
put these troops...
They will sit there. Zelensky, oh, he did a fine job, remarkable job. He sat there and he was this and that. Donald Trump, well, you know, he had to call Putin after the meeting, you know, and check in. He's not checking in any more than he was checking in with Zelensky, who he called right after meeting with Putin. He's trying to facilitate a deal, you idiot. You know how you do that? Dialogue, conversation, a little back and forth, give and take. That's how you do that. These people, you had to check in with Putin to see if it was okay. Dad, is it okay? Stop it. You're embarrassing yourselves. This is why MSNBC has imploded and doesn't exist anymore. Don't worry, CNN, you're on the chopping block too. And people like Abby Phillips and Aaron Burnett and whatever clowns are left at the show will be gone. They will be. They'll be gone. And in fact, CNN's Abby Phillips actually suggesting European leaders were scared about Trump's leadership. They didn't come looking for peace to the White House. No, they came to make sure that Donald Trump didn't create a war. This is how dumb it is. Donald Trump's going to create a war. By how? By what? Talking to Putin? Talking to Zelensky? Inviting all the European leaders from the 7 major nations of Europe to come to the White House to be there because it's more important to them than it is to us. If the war continues, it's in their backyard, not ours. Abby Phillips, how embarrassing, on a podcast said this.
Extraordinary that this is even happening. I mean, think about the fact that you have a phalanx of European leaders getting on planes at a moment's notice to flock to Washington to give Zelensky backup in this meeting with Trump. That's a level of concern that I think some people say hasn't been demonstrated since 9/11. And it reflects a deep worry about Trump's decision-making and his need to be surrounded by a certain point of view in order to come to what they view as the right conclusion. So I think that alone, I mean, says a lot.
It's tiresome, isn't it? It's just tiresome. Abby Phillips. Yeah, just another clown at the show over at Chicken Noodle News. The Federalist, have you ever heard someone say this is unconstitutional? It's easy to hear bold claims in the media, but have you ever taken the time to really understand the United States Constitution, dig deep? Hillsdale College offering you the opportunity with a free online course called The Federalist. You can dive into the writings of Alexander Hamilton and James Madison, learn how the Constitution was designed to protect our rights while balancing power. Here's a preview of this excellent course.
I don't want to take away to be that democracy is a bad thing. We need more democracy, just not their kind of democracy.
Without delay.
Many of us wish we could ignore politics. However, as citizens in a republic, that's not really a convenience that we have. In a self-governing system such as ours, the decisions that are made by politicians, that are made in our national institutions, have a profound effect on every aspect of our lives.
Every aspect of our lives, and it can have a profound impact on your life because it's free. This course and 40 more. Learn about America. Great America. GruberForHillsdale.com, GruberForHillsdale.com. It's free. And I want you to send me an email and tell me how much you get started. Go to GruberForHillsdale.com. It's all free. I'll be right back. Back into the conversation now and covering all the stories that maybe you don't get, from the other networks. That's why you're here. That's why you're with us, because you get some truth here you don't get other places. Rosemary Gibson wrote a book a number of years ago called China RX. Ivy and I both read it. It was a chilling, really, because we learned that our pharmaceuticals go back to China far too often. We need to produce more drugs here, have more control over our health care here in America than outsourcing it to people that don't like us. Here to talk more about that, Dr. Kelly Victory. She's the Chief of Disaster and Emergency Medicine at the Wellness Company. Doctor, nice to see you again.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
Yeah, China RX was an eye-opening read for me, and how much we rely on China to supply sometimes 90% of the ingredients of critical pharmaceutical medications for diabetes, for heart disease, for obesity, whatever it might be. Well, recently, Donald Trump, he made a move that he was going to be levying tariffs on imported prescription drugs in order to force manufacturers to come back home. What do you think of that idea? What do you think about it being reliant on the Chinese Communist Party for our drugs?
Well, independent of what you think about tariffs in general, Steve, this is a very, very important step by the president. Anything we can do to return pharmaceutical manufacturing to the United States is very important. I'm so glad you mentioned that book, China RX by Rosemary Gibson. It's a brilliant expose on exactly what we are talking about, which is that for many decades now, we have been overly reliant on China for our pharmaceuticals or for their active ingredients. More than 90% of those things come from China, and to a lesser extent from India. And I, along with Rosemary Gibson and others, have pointed this out to multiple previous administrations, that this is a huge national security risk. The idea that we would outsource our pharmaceuticals to our greatest geopolitical foe is insanity. It is one thing to buy a T-shirt from China. It's something else to buy your children's, antibiotics or your blood pressure medication from
Absolutely true. Yeah, you can't be, because if there's a dust up, they could easily say, you know what, we're not sending it that. Just like they didn't send us critical materials during the COVID years. So, but tariffs aren't perfect, right? They're not. So there could be some challenges here. What kind of challenges could you see from steep tariffs on pharmaceuticals?
Well, I can imagine that there could be some limited supplies, some shortages. Drug prices certainly can go up, at least in the short term, and we may have limited supply because although the president's efforts are absolutely in the right place to return manufacturing to the United States, that isn't going to happen overnight, Steve. And that is part of the reason that we have created at the Wellness Company these kits that allow people to have access to prescription medications, critical things like antibiotics, antivirals, EpiPens, medications for nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, because we don't want people to be caught during this short period of time or an intermediate period of time when there are tariffs in place, but we haven't yet brought the manufacturing back to the United States.
Right.
We don't want people to get caught without these critical medications at hand.
The Wellness Company puts together what I consider to be the gold standard. I've got one here, by the way. This is the original. There's several now. The original medical emergency kit, and if you open it up, it's got all sorts of these prescription drugs. I'm going to pull it in there. There it is, that you can see. And it's got a book that's really important. The book explains how you use these medications, because what happens if there's a hurricane or there's a blackout or something happens that you don't have access to things that you need, like antibiotics or antivirals or antiparasitics. They're all here in this kit. It is the gold standard. And you don't have to worry. You can have peace of mind because you know you've put these things on your shelf in case of emergency, right?
Absolutely. It's having the medications on hand, in your possession before you need them. Furthermore, people who are members at the Wellness Company can get their other routine medications, their blood pressure medications or other things that they take on a daily basis. And it's always wise, and I think particularly with these impending tariffs, to have a little bit more on hand than you would otherwise do. Maybe an extra month's supply, for example, of your blood pressure medication or your diabetes medication. medications. Again, it's just to make sure that you don't get caught in the middle of this without having access to the things that you need to keep yourself and your family safe.
Well, and the other thing that we've all seen here in the last, certainly over the last year, we've seen these Rite Aids and CVS's that were everywhere. They've closed hundreds of locations. Maybe you're in a desert now when it comes to pharmaceuticals, and it's not easy to get to where you need to be. Well, plan ahead. By the way, here's the kit that I use the most. It's the first aid kit. Gravity always wins, doctor. I've proved that time and again. Ivy keeps us just in case I do something silly today. But the point is, a lot of different kits. As you said, regular medications as well. You can get a membership. All sorts of formulations. You get the spike protein formula, which is also the gold standard. There's a parasite cleanse. It's terrific. I just did it recently. When it comes to just maintaining and taking care of your health, the Wellness Company has just about everything you can imagine, and then some, don't they?
Yes, and we've been able to source things that were in short supplies in previous years, things like EpiPens that is used to treat anaphylaxis or severe allergic reactions. They were in very short supply and had gotten extraordinarily expensive. We were able to access those and source those, and those are included in multiple of our different kits. So you can go online and look to see if someone in your family, for example, has a peanut allergy, if your children's friends, are in that situation. You would want to have one of those on hand because it really can save a life if the time comes.
Yes, it can. Absolutely can. Be prepared, not scared. Again, these kits are the gold standard. You want to find out more? twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Take the good doctor's advice. Be ready no matter what happens. Dr. Victory, always appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
Thank you. And I'm telling you, that first aid kit was spectacular. I burned my hand really badly last year. We came right into the house, put that burn cream on there. Man, it made a world of difference to be able to have the stuff you need when you need it right there. twc.health/Gruber. Don't be caught without the things you need. twc.health/Gruber. It is the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. Well, Tulsi Gabbard strikes again. 37 clearances revoked yesterday. 37 former and current intelligence officials over the Russiagate scam, and more to come. A lot more to come, apparently. Anybody involved with these playing games with the facts or a FISA court or any of this, not going to be tolerated. It is not going to be tolerated by any of these folks anymore. So DNI Gabbard on Tuesday directed her office to revoke the security clearances of 37 former and current, some were current. This came from Just the News, my good friend John Solomon. By the way, I'm going to be on his podcast. Just on with just recorded it yesterday. I don't know what day that airs, but I know it's on Sirius satellite radio and other places. So you can catch it several different places. John Solomon's podcast, glad to be on that. Also, got another invitation coming up that we've accepted. Yeah, we've accepted to be on another podcast, Sean Ryan's podcast. We've accepted an invitation to be on with Sean Ryan. He's definitely a lightning rod. We'll be taking that. It's not his podcast per se. It's a series of a few programs. It'll be live on Facebook, 1 hour programs with Sean Ryan. So it's something new that he's doing, and I'm glad to be part of it. Got an invitation for that. We said yes, of course. Next week I'll be in Washington, D.C. I think I've told you that. So just a busy time right now. So we're going to find out. We're going to be right there in the heart of the matter while the negotiations are being carried on for peace in Ukraine. On the front lines, if Tulsi Gabbard kicks anybody else to the curb, and so much more. So we've got that all coming. In the next hour, John Tamny will be here, political economy editor at Forbes magazine, senior economic advisor. We're going to find out what he thinks about the economy. Why is Bitcoin taking it on the chin over the last 48 hours? What's going on with interest rates? All of that and more coming up in the next hour. Follow us on YouTube Live. It's the best place to find the program these days, on YouTube. I'll be right back. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, welcome to it. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board live from the heartland of the country and coming to you from Studio G. I'm fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. And the question is today, who do you want in your foxhole? It's a no panic zone, my friends. There's always lots to talk about, nothing to worry about because we've got this under control. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, California Republicans suing the Newsom administration to block what many see as an illegal attempt to redistrict the state in opposition to the Constitution there. Number two, in D.C., President Trump ready to double the number of National Guard members in the streets of the nation's capital. Residents seem to like it. And number three, speaking of all that, let's take a look at the midterms, right? President Trump ready to clean up the fraud in mail-in ballots. He wants to eliminate them altogether. And it must be something right about it because everybody is freaking out on the left, like Mark Elias. He was one of the instruments of destruction for Hillary Clinton. Mark Elias, one of those attorneys who did everything he could to promote Russiagate, right? Everything he could to promote Russiagate. And he's panicking about the potential end of mail-in ballots because it will end their path to cheating outright. I guess Trump must be right over the target. Listen to this.
So Donald Trump is telling us that. He is not hiding the ball. He's not like pretending to be doing something else. That is what he is saying. And it is about damn time that the institutions of this country, the legacy media, first and foremost among them, wakes the starts to report and say what Donald Trump himself is saying. I mean, the God, I'm sorry for swearing. I'm sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain, but their headline after Donald Trump's executive order is, and I quote, Trump previews executive order on voting. I'm sorry, what? You think what Brian and I are talking about here is Trump previewing an executive order on voting? It's as if, like, they are reporting on, Barack Obama or Joe Biden, announcing, Bald Eagle Month.
Bald Eagle Month. How about Bald-Faced Liar Month? Look, mail-in ballots are not allowed in any of the 27 countries of Europe. Not one. Why is that? Oh, because they're ripe for fraud. They were tried a couple of places in Europe. That's not allowed. You can't even have absentee ballots in pretty much every country in Europe. You know why? Fraud. So you're in the hospital, you've been banged up in a car accident. I want to vote. Then go vote. But I can't leave my hospital bed. Guess you're not voting. Too bad. Radical alt-left Democrats, however, want mass mail-in ballots in America. They talk about democracy, but they don't mean it. They talk about it, but they don't mean it at all, in fact. Radical alt-left Democrats like Colorado's Secretary of State are freaking out that mail-in ballots that are ripe for fraud could soon be eliminated here, as they should be, by the way. Here's another example of the left freaking out. Go.
This is an attempted power grab by Donald Trump. He is attacking democracy, and we will not let him win. Look, he has absolutely no power to issue an executive order on elections. The Constitution is extremely clear. States oversee elections, not Trump. I will fight him on this. We have beat him over and over in attempts to roll back mail ballots in 2020, and I plan to do that again. We will not allow him to disenfranchise millions of American voters for his petty games and trying to hold his weak MAGA control over the country.
Kind of hard to take her serious, isn't it? His weak MAGA control over the country. Destroying democracy. No, what destroys democracy are systems in which people are allowed to cheat. Systems where it's easy to cheat, like mail-in ballots, which is why they're not legal in places like Europe. Any of the countries in Europe ban those. In fact, I don't know of any country where mail-in ballots are legal. I'm going to go ahead and do a little search here and try to find out. Meanwhile, when it comes to securing elections, the left is also freaking out because ICE agents could be in the neighborhood of the polling station. And that could prevent illegals from voting. Wait a second. They didn't want the illegals to vote, right? They told us that. They didn't want the illegals to vote. They told us that, right? Right? So wait a second. I'm confused. Steve Bannon nails it here, as he should. Listen.
They're whining. They're petrified over at MSNBC that, and CNN, that, hey, they're going to be, since we're taking control of the cities, there's going to be ICE officers near polling places. You damn right. Write this down in your number 2 pencils over at CNN and MS Now. We're not going to allow any illegal aliens to vote. If you don't have an ID, if you're not a citizen, you're not voting. So you can whine and throw your toys at the pram all you want. That's going to happen.
All right, so there you go. So here I am. I'm doing the question here on AI again. And I said, what countries allow for mass mail-in ballots? Oh, it gives me a list of 8 states: California, Colorado, Hawaii, blue, 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 Nevada, blue, Oregon, blue, Utah, red, Vermont, blue, Washington, blue. So one red state allows it, but not countries. Let's see. The countries that allow absentee ballots, not mass mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. Australia, voters can request a postal ballot. Austria, you can request a postal ballot. Canada, of course. Denmark, Finland, Germany, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, New Zealand, South Korea, and the UK. Except they don't allow it in Northern Ireland and the UK. Other countries allow it for some people, but now it's a very small. Only 12 countries allow for mail-in ballots. Yeah, only 12 countries. Countries that do not allow it: Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, the DR, Honduras, Jamaica, Russia, Ukraine. No mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots are ripe for fraud. Fraud. And everybody knows it. So you can request a mail-in ballot, but ones that are just shipped out the way it's done in this country, no country does that. And I stand corrected about some of the countries in Europe. There are 3 here that allow for it, or 4. If you consider Liechtenstein and Luxembourg to be a country together, then it's 4. There you have it. Still to come, Joe Tyrab will be here, Minnesota State co-chair for U.S. term limits, former candidate for Congress. From Eisenhower to TikTok. How long is too long? What does he mean by that? What do I mean by that? We'll talk about it coming up. Well, from Eisenhower to TikTok, how long is too long when it comes to being in Congress? Look, I go back and forth on this. Term limits, sometimes I think it's a good idea. Other times I think, well, what if you've got a great person in a particular position and you don't want to lose them? They've got experience, they've gotten things done for you, and they're term limited out. They're automatically disqualified from running again. I don't like that idea. But then again, I don't like the fact that in Texas last year, a member of Congress, they couldn't figure out where she was. Republican, by the way. Couldn't figure out where she was. Then they found her in the dementia center in Houston. Had been missing for 6 months. Her staff should be criminally prosecuted for that, by the way, for hiding that fact. They weren't. Nobody's held accountable. Joe Tayrab is here, Minnesota State co-chair for the U.S. term limits, former candidate for Congress. Joe, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right. So who was there from Eisenhower to TikTok? Who was holding court on Capitol Hill for that long?
I mean, no one should be. And we know Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, they, were in Congress, Joe Biden, for 35 years before he became vice president. Nancy Pelosi, I was born in 1987. Nancy Pelosi's been in Congress since then. I think that is way too long. And I hear your point about, hey, look, if someone gets in there and they have experience, but look, what is the cost of that? And the cost is the system is broken, and we need to fix it.
I don't know what the cost is. If I lose good representation, what is the cost to me as a voter in this republic? And I want a certain person to represent me, but people want to change the rules and say, well, you can't be represented by who you want. Look, term limits can be exacted by elections. That's what I've used to think. But part of the problem is you've got massive amounts of money. The re-election rate for U.S. senators is better than 90%. You've got House races that'll cost $100 million this year, next year, I suppose. But there are problems on both sides. But the fact of the matter is, people get a chance to vote. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. What's wrong with that for term limits?
Well, you can make the same argument about president. And look,
I agree.
What we did in the 22nd Amendment is we said, as good as a president may or may not be. I mean, I would love it if Ronald Reagan could have been president for a little bit longer, or other great presidents. But we said 22nd Amendment, that's term limited. And so,
that doesn't mean I agree with it. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt would have been elected president most likely in 1920, except he did this strange thing called dying in 1919. And Teddy Roosevelt probably would have been reelected. And then you never would have had Harding being an embarrassment with the Teapot Dome and all of those scandals, right? So I don't know. I think that elections really are term limiting. But then again, I see these people that are entrenched in there that have piles of money that can't be touched because they've got all this money. What we should do, I think, Joe, is limit how much money can be involved in an election, period. If you're running for Congress, the most money you can spend is $1 million, period. Doesn't matter where it comes from. If you're running for the United States Senate, it's $5 million. That's it. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Stop the money. If you're running for president, you get $25 million. Doesn't matter where it comes from. That's all you get, period. If you were able to do that, I think that you could really help people that weren't in office have a chance to get into office. Because if you're a little guy like me and I want to run for office, I don't have $25 million sitting there ready to go. Maybe I'm the best candidate. Maybe I am. Maybe I should run for Michigan's 1st congressional district. It's crossed my mind. But how do I get there? Go on. I'm not trying to cut you off.
I know this deeply because I ran for Congress last cycle and I got outspent 3-1. And I know how much money is at the heart of politics. And sadly, that's just the case. So when you say that, hey, look, we have elections and those are natural term limits. Well, unfortunately, they're not. I mean, the incumbency rate is extremely high. So maybe if that was the case, we wouldn't need term limits, but we need term limits. I mean, and so I think we have a simple way. It's a hard way to get there in terms of Article 5 of the Constitution. The Founding Fathers gave us the way to get there, and that's changing the Constitution. And I think that's a little bit easier, honestly, than somehow limiting money, because when you get into money, you say, well, how much can be spent on an ad or on a newspaper or what have you, and then that gets into First Amendment issues. So I think we should change the Constitution, term limit senators to 2 terms, House members to 3 terms. Let's get in line with what many state legislatures and governors have across the country and term limit our politicians, because the system is broken.
You'll have a very difficult time. It takes 38 states to ratify an amendment to the United States Constitution. 38. We can't get we can't get 38 people to agree on anything, let alone 38 states. I mean, you're optimistic. I give you that.
80% of Americans believe in this. And look, at some point,
80% of Americans
US
don't think
senators
men
weren't
should.
directly.
80% of Americans don't believe that men should be in girls' sports, and yet here we are, or that the southern border should have ever been open, but yet here we are. You know, these 80-20 issues, I agree with you on that.
I think there's going to be change. I mean, there's going to be change on that issue. There was change in the border, thankfully, in the 2024 election here.
Sure.
But, you know, there's going to be change. I mean, there was change with direct election of senators. There was change.
What a terrible, and thank you for bringing that up. The 17th Amendment, the worst thing that ever happened in America. The worst thing that ever happened. The 17th Amendment.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration.
Terrible, horrible thing that happened. Because if that hadn't happened right now, there'd be 58 Republican senators in Washington. 58, maybe 60. Thank you for pointing that out. The 17th is the worst damn thing that ever happened to this country. Sorry, but you hit a nerve there, Joe.
I'll say I'm happy that I get to vote directly for my U.S. senator, but I understand better. You know.
No, you do vote. We were not smarter than the founding fathers, and direct election of senators is wrong. We elected state representatives and senators to select our senators. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's a reason for that. It insulated the states against what we have now, which is an overrepresentation of Democrats in the United States Senate and the House, by the way. This country votes overwhelmingly red, and yet we've got almost an even match in the House. But I'll give you the last word.
I mean, sorry, the last word is this. I mean, I agree with you that we're not smarter than the founding fathers. The founding fathers gave us the fifth Article 5 of the Constitution that says this is how we can change things, because things do change. And so we now realize that money, unfortunately, as you and I will both agree, is way too important in politics. Let's figure this out. Let's make sure that people aren't in Congress for their whole lives and not understanding what the heck TikTok even is. And let's term limit.
I'll consider that, but we really should be considering repealing the 17th. See, we came to an accommodation here. Joe, thank you for being here. I got to run. Greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll be leaving for Washington, D.C. here in the next few days. I'll be there all of next week covering the White House for you for Real America's Voice. And, of course, for this program, covering the White House. Haven't been there, I guess it was June that I was there. It's been a couple of months. I can't wait to go back. I have a hard pass to the White House. I can come and go as I please. It's kind of a nice thing. So I'll be in the room with Caroline Leavitt, maybe get a question or two along the way. Hopefully be in the Oval Office with the president, see what's happening. Should be right there in the front row with any changes with Zelensky or Putin or whatever else might happen. So that's a big deal and interesting. Meanwhile, as I'm going to be in D.C., the cleanup continues. In fact, Donald Trump's going to more than double the National Guard there. The deployments come as Donald Trump has requested the support of state National Guard troops for the effort. Republican-led states quick to help. Roughly 800 National Guard members are stationed in the capital city. 200 more from Mississippi, 200 from South Carolina, 200 from Ohio, 300 to 400 from West Virginia set to join them. So another 1,000 coming, more than doubling the folks coming. How is it that West Virginia can send more than everybody else? I've approved the deployment of approximately 200 Mississippi National Guard soldiers, the president said. Governor Tate Reeves sending that on over. Crime is out of control there. It's clear something must be done, said Reeves. Yeah, we're going to more than double. That'll make the heads explode up there on old CNN, Abby Phillips. Ah! Okay, take your medicine, Abby. We truly appreciate you for that. Yeah. Let's see here. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at PuroVet. PuroVet is PuroClean's Veterans Initiative. If you haven't heard me talk about it, pay attention. If you're a veteran or know somebody who is, and they want a chance to be part of a great company, become a franchisee of PuroClean, this is it. You get moved to the head of the line. Your franchise fees are greatly reduced. Your path to owning your own franchise, your own company, is clear. PuroVet, where veterans find purpose in property restoration and entrepreneurship, and we salute those who have served. Go to purovet.com or call 855-PuroVet. Purovet.com or 855-PuroVet. You're on your way. I'll take a break and be back. Thank you for being here. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Make sure you follow us on all those social media platforms. YouTube, the place to be these days for the live stream. Seems to work better, people tell me. I'm just trying to figure it out with you. I'll be right back. All right, debts, deficits, we talk about them. We have our entire lives. U.S. debt and deficits, and it never gets better. It only gets worse. It only gets worse. And they all talk about it, but nothing ever seems to get fixed. My next guest is so fed up with it, he wrote a brand new book about it. John Tamny, political economy editor at Forbes and senior economic advisor to Research and Trading, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, and so much more. Here's the new book, Deficit Delusion. Why everything left, right, and supply side tells you about the national debt is wrong. John, good to have you here. Glad to dive into this discussion. Look, my entire life, raise taxes, lower spending, raise taxes, lower. That's my whole life. We've all heard it, you know, and you go back years. And I go back to 1965. How about that? The year I was born. $317 billion. That was our total debt. Today it's $37 trillion and growing, probably by $317 billion every month or something like that. Not very long. What do we have wrong here? Everything seems wrong to me. Your thoughts?
What we have wrong is that people keep looking at symptoms, the debt, instead of what causes debt, which is too much tax revenue now and the expectation of way too much in the future. You look at what do the Democrats say? They say, or the left, they say we've got to raise taxes on the rich. Republicans say we've got to cut Democrat spending while they're in office, though Republicans don't waste a lot of money. Libertarians say it's got to be a combination of entitlement reform and tax increase. Supply-siders say we've got an idea. Let's raise your taxes by lowering them. We'll get more revenue at a lower rate. What are they all saying? Let's give the very people who ran up all the debt even more money to pay it off. It's the most ludicrous thing, but it also ignores why we have debt. Any entity that takes in lots of money and that will take in a lot more in the future can borrow with ease. We have debt because too much revenue flows to Washington, not because not enough.
Yeah, I have this crazy idea. You tell me how wrong I am, because most people are financially illiterate anyway, so maybe I'm one of them. John, I don't want to be one of them, but I'm going to ask you a question here seriously, because in 1964, 5, 6, Lyndon Johnson rolled out the Great Society. According to estimates I see, the Great Society has cost us $25 to $30 trillion in spending, and we haven't really moved poverty rates much, a couple of points. Sent it from being old people in poverty to kids in poverty and vice versa. So all that spending didn't accomplish what we were promised. So do we have a spending problem? Because I think we do. I think we do. How did we go from $317 billion of debt in 1965 to $37 trillion today if we don't have a spending problem?
Well, to be clear, all government spending is problematic, as I make very clear in the book, simply because central planning is a problem. Resources are produced in the private sector, and so when government spends it, it's a tax on us, because suddenly you have politicians substituting themselves for the marketplace and allocating the resources, and we know they do it in politicized fashion. So, of course, the war on poverty failed. Consider you were born in 1965. Medicare in 1965 began as a $3 billion program. It's near $1 trillion annually today. Does everyone have medical care? Obviously not. So the spending naturally fails. Do we have deficits because of too much spending? That's a favorite thing for people to say. Oh, no, we have deficits because of too much spending. That implies that markets are stupid. Well, why does Russia only have $300 billion in debt? Why does Haiti have about $7 billion in debt? Are their politicians just naturally circumspect? No, they don't have a lot of revenue. Investors don't think they'll have a lot of tax revenue in the future, hence they can't spend. We have deficits because investors think the U.S. economy is incredibly bright in the future, and so they'll lend to us with ease. And so I keep saying, if you want to cut the debt, you have to cut the amount that Americans are taxed, rich in particular, that are way overtaxed. And because they are, everyone's willing to lend to us. We're the safest bet on earth.
Because of high taxes.
Yeah, we're overtaxed.
I agree with that.
This is not the Laffer curve argument. Hey, if we just lower the tax rate, we'll get more revenue. No, the federal government takes in way too much revenue now. It's expected to take in exponentially more in the future. And any individual whose earnings trajectory is going up, any business whose earnings trajectory is going up, and any government that is taking in money like this will always borrow with ease.
Let me ask you this. Does the bill come due? And is there a point of no return? I used to think that the point of no return was somewhere around $25 trillion. Well, that's in the rearview mirror long ago now, because I felt that at some point, if you go past a certain point, and this is based on things that I read and heard from folks, you know, that I thought knew what they're talking about. I mean, do we end up like Greece or Portugal, where you have a debt crisis? Nobody's going to bail us out, right? I mean, at some point, does the bill come due and we're broke?
No, but everyone keeps saying that. They keep focusing on, well, you know, at this level, we're going to, the credit card limit's going to be cut off and everything, as though that would be a bad thing if suddenly politicians could borrow less. No, what are the markets telling us? The bill is not coming due because Americans are the most productive, enterprising people on earth. Ask yourself the question, total federal debt in 1980 was $900 billion. What if you had said to some economist, politician, pundit in 1980, oh, guess what? By 2025, total debt will be $37 trillion. What will be the yield on that debt? As in, how much will it cost for Treasury to borrow? At the time, it was 11%. They all would have said, oh, it's going to be thousands and thousands. We're going to be Greece. We're going to be Weimar, Germany, and everything. But in fact, what's happened? The cost for Treasury to borrow has gradually plummeted since 1980 amid much higher debt. The markets keep telling us the debt is not the problem. They've said that over and over again, that it's going to be easy to pay the debt off. And so the real crisis is not the debt. It's what we're not doing. It's unseen. It's the cancer cures. It's the transportation advances. It's the technological advances that aren't occurring because trillions of dollars are being consumed annually by politicians that are being centrally planned by politicians. That's the crisis. Yet everyone's focused on what the markets don't care about because the markets know Americans are overtaxed. Paying off the debt will be simple.
It's a great take on it. The markets, by the way, best they've ever been, right? I mean, the best they've ever been, really. 45,000 on the Dow, 21,000 plus on the NASDAQ, 6,400 plus on S&P. All right, I'll give you real quickly here the last word. What do we need to do? What do we need to focus on? You got 30 seconds.
Well, what we need to focus on is the basic truth that Americans are the most prosperous, enterprising people on earth. If we actually want to fix the debt, we have got to reduce taxes on the most productive Americans so substantially that they're paying about as much in taxes as I am or the typical man on the street. If you do that, prosperity will be much greater. Alongside, government's ability to borrow will be much less because no one will trust the debt in the way they do now.
Yeah, it begs the question. How much? What's your percentage of tax? What's your tax rate?
It's not a percentage. Any percentage would be too much. We've got to say Jeff Bezos, there's a point in which he's paid too much. Even 1%, he'd be massively overpaying. And that's why we have all the debt.
John Tamny, the book Deficit Delusion, Why Everything Left, Right, and Supply Side tells you about the national debt is wrong. Thank you, sir, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Well, here we go, diving right into it. You making things go off on my printer here, Anthony? You feeding the printer, are you?
Wasn't me.
I went to talk to Ivy, after school today. All right, our next guest is so lost in the woods he can't even get a television signal, no video, but he's out there with Bigfoot or something. Ron Rademacher on Michigan's back roads in the western UP, apparently, somewhere looking for Bigfoot. Ron, are you there?
Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, come in, Ron. Earth to Ron. Houston, we have a problem. Western Upper Peninsula of Michigan, we find Ron Rademacher today, lost in the great woods and looking for Bigfoot somewhere on the Michigan-Wisconsin line. Good job, Ron. Have you found him yet? Just smell for him, I'm told. You can smell him before you see him.
We smelled a couple of things that were pernicious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and we did find a spot where the bear did his business in the woods. So, but we're not really sure about the Bigfoots, but we've had a heck of a trip. First, I got to give a shout out to our buddy Bob Barkham. He invited me to come down again this year. I was there October 5th last year. So, Bob, I'll be calling you. And another shout out for you, Steve. Pete and Charlie at the Gang of Namus said be sure and come on up this fall for the color tours, which we'll be talking about. But we've just done 6 days over here in the Western Upper Peninsula. And I will be posting a series of articles at Michigan News Source to let everybody know what to expect when they come up here. And by the way, there's already color appearing on the Keweenaw Peninsula, Steve. So
really,
if you're planning a tour, yes, sir. And we've talked to a lot of people. In my own experience, Kathy's experience, we think that on the Keweenaw Peninsula, even around like your favorite, the Brockway Mountain Drive, it should be peaking in about 3 weeks.
From now. Stop it.
There's color.
So no, stop it, because you know what comes right after that? Snow.
Yeah, I do. And so if you're
Anthony, just disconnect the call. I'm done here. All right, fine.
I'll tell you, now, if you wanted to be here 2 weeks ago, which now I wish I would have been, Steve, I have never seen the proliferation of mushrooms up here that I'm seeing on this trip.
What kind?
Chicken of the woods, chanterelles, lion's mane.
You found lion's mane?
A lot. I mean, yeah, a lot of it. And I've got but it's all a golden color, so I don't know if it's too late or if it's golden because it's the fake lion's mane. But a lot of it.
Or the dog beat you to it.
It could be. But I've never seen this proliferation of mushrooms anywhere, and I'm talking right on the trails. If I had walked off the trail 100 yards, it would be fantastic. So we might have to plan next year or so to get up here.
No kidding.
Around the 1st of August.
That's crazy.
This is amazing. So there's a lot of other stuff going on. Here's a couple of things for people. If you're in the Upper Peninsula coming up, and you need to get out of your campground, you need to do something else. Seeney's having their Lumberjack Festival, which is was a famous town back in the Lumberjack days.
Yeah.
And Porcupine Mountains is the Porcupine Mountain Music Festival, is the 22nd and the 23rd. So if you're over this way and you need something to do, those are great. We went to the Calumet Pasty Festival in Quest for Fat Balls.
Now, did you find
no luck.
So hold on. I had somebody listening to the program. They sent me an email, Ron. They sent me an email, this lady did. I don't have it right in front of me, so I don't remember her name. I will talk about this on Friday more. She found an old recipe book that she went through, and she found a recipe for fat balls, and she said she had heard it on the program. She was so excited because she had heard us talking about Belgian fat balls here, and she found a recipe. She's sending me the recipe, Ron. She is sending me the recipe. Very excited.
I hope that you'll share it with the rest of us and not just...
Well, I will. Of course I will. Did we lose Ron? My God, he might have been eaten by Bigfoot. Is it possible that he was eaten? Wait,
there he
is.
Is doing
He's
something
back.
for society, Steve. Over in Marysville, they're having a pinup girl contest.
Tell Steve we know.
That's something you don't see every day.
Well, I'd like to.
Yeah, I know you would. It's the Hot Wheels weekend. They got over 600 they're going to show over 600 collectible cars will be gathered there. Food trucks, pop culture stuff, and a genuine pinup girl contest. I'm hoping that somebody will find time to go over there and get us a video of that. If they don't, too bad. I'd really like to see it. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm not sure how much time I have left.
You got 2 minutes. You're all right. You're good. Did you give a shout out to Bob Barkham yet? Did I miss that?
I just did. I did. Yeah, you were so excited about the mushrooms and so worried about the snow.
Well, I like Bob a lot. I want to make sure. I want to make sure we yell Bob's name at least twice because I like him. Anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely. He invited me down there last year, and everybody was just great. People came by and talked about the books and petted Bob the turtle. So, Bob, I will get there. I just don't know which weekend it'll be, but I'll let you know. It was during pumpkin time last year. It was beautiful at that spot, and they are great at that farm. Good food, good apple cider. Bob Barkham does it right.
Right. So I see one here in Muskegon. I kind of like Burning Foot Beer Festival. What the hell?
Burning Foot Beer Festival. The reason they call it that is because, oddly enough, they decide to have their celebration of beer, beach, and art and music out on the beach.
What a crazy idea.
So, yeah, and apparently the sand can get hot.
Yeah.
Go figure. I don't know. Yeah, so your feet start burning, you grab a cold one, you walk into Lake Michigan. I guess that's how it goes. But, I'm glad to see that the people are still having beer festivals because, things are moving on. We're getting on close to color time, so that'll start. I'll tell you where else there's going to be a beer tent, Steve, is at Howard City for the Tie-Dye Festival.
There you go, tie-dyeing.
You might be too young to have lived in the 60s.
I am too young, Ron. I am too young. I got to leave it there, Ron, because the clock has run down on this one, and you've got to date with Bigfoot. So make sure he brushes his teeth.
We're headed for the Sturgeon River Gorge right now. Bigfoot should be there, and let me know about that Fat Balls recipe.
There you go. He's out of here. All right, now let's check in with Brock in sports.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule of games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Toronto, Detroit, and the Athletics. National League winners included Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Atlanta. At the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, 4 elimination games yesterday. Japan shut out Mexico 6-0. South Carolina shut out Hawaii 3-0. Aruba beat Canada 6-1. And South Dakota shut out Washington 9-0. In the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts announced that veteran Daniel Jones will be the team's starting quarterback to begin the regular season. He beat out former first-round pick Anthony Richardson for the job. In the WNBA last night, there were 5 games. Winners included New York, Connecticut, and Seattle. Also in the WNBA, Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham's out for the rest of the season due to a medial collateral ligament tear suffered in Sunday's game against Connecticut. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, greatly appreciate that. All right, so coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about everything happening here in Michigan. Look, the midterm's not too far away, right? Eric Nesbitt was on with me yesterday. John James will be on with me today, both men running for governor in the state of Michigan. Crowded Republican field as that seat is open and up for grabs. And I've got to be honest, Republicans have a good opportunity here. Mike Duggan kind of throwing a wrench in everything. He was on the program here, what was it, a week ago now? Running as an independent. He's a Democrat, mayor, of course, of Detroit, but running as an independent in the state. And right now, it looks to me like Mike Duggan could be the man to beat as an independent. Now, he's still a Democrat. He's still left of center. We'll have him back on the program. We're going to ask him about big questions like, what about gun control? Where do you stand on that, Mr. Mayor? Where do you stand on law and order? Where do you stand on sanctuary cities? Where do you stand on all of these things? They're all important questions to ask. But John James will be here. We'll ask him important questions as well. What's it going to take for a Republican to win the governor's mansion here in Michigan? That's the real question. And does he really want to give up his seat in Congress? Does John James? He's been there for 2 terms. I'll take a quick break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to see you today. beat you up. They'll beat you up. There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. Yes, you do. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yes, it is, and glad to have you along for this conversation as we are getting into another big hour here, opening up like a birthday present, just ripping the bow right off from it. And glad to have you here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Who do you want in your foxhole? It's an important decision you're about to make. All right, here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Michigan State University has settled with the last shooting survivor from that horrible shooting back in December of 2023. We'll have that for you. Number two, a license to kill. We've been talking about this all day. Florida Rec shows why Michigan is right to block licenses for illegals. And while we're on Michigan, let's talk about Gretchen Whitmer, shall we? That's number three. Gretchen Whitmer. In November of 23, Governor Whitmer signed historic clean energy legislation. That's what they called it, historic green energy legislation. Stupid is what it was. Myopic. The state claim made Michigan a national leader in the fight against climate change. The incredible climate change. Stop it. Windmills will never power Michigan or anything else. With all of this AI and mining for bitcoins and things like that, we don't have enough power, and there aren't enough windmills on the planet. There aren't enough windmills on the planet to power that sort of thing. State is far from that, at least in terms of how it gets its electricity. 16.2% of the energy in Michigan comes from what they call renewable energy. Of course, it's all renewable because the earth continues to create hydrocarbons. We're not going to use them all. Not now, not ever. Oil, natural gas, hydrocarbons. Energy density. It's a good thing. Look into it. Mostly wind and solar, 16%. The nationwide average is 31%. We're at about half, according to the Energy Information Administration. And I don't think we should be any higher than that. I'm good with that. Leave it at half. In 2020, Whitmer signed an executive order that stated the science is clear and message urgent. The Earth's climate is now changing faster than at any point in the history of modern civilization, and human activities are largely responsible for their blah, 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 blah. Nonsense. Stop it. You know, I've seen the rapid sea change and the rising sea levels have done exactly nothing, which is why Barack Obama bought not one but two estates on the ocean, one in Martha's Vineyard and another one much more complex and much more expensive in Hawaii. Look, it's why insurance companies continue to insure those houses on the coast in many places. It's why these big development companies continue to build on the coast in places like, well, North and South Carolina, for example. They're booming. Where? The coast. Why? Because of rising sea levels? Give me a break. The goal of that executive order, by the way, was for the state to be carbon neutral by 2050. Carbon neutrality is defined as removing as much carbon from the environment as is emitted. The Michigan Healthy Climate Plan 2024 from the state calls for supporting strategies where 60% of the state's electricity comes from renewable sources and phasing out all coal-fired power plants by 2030. That should never happen. Because in 2025, coal is providing 26.4% of our juice. Second largest supplier behind natural gas. Natural gas at 39%, coal at 26%. Yeah. Wait a second. And if renewables are at 16%, let me just do some math here. 1, 5, 8. Okay, that's where's the other 19% come from? Nuclear? Maybe, I guess. Anyhow, it's just another EV folly. Another EV folly. Here's another victim of the EV myth. Rivian, car company. A relative of mine used to work there until they got downsized out because Rivian a year ago was in financial trouble. It's worse today. You've seen these Rivians out there. Cool looking little vehicle. Electric. One of my neighbors has one. Cool looking little car. I'd never own one. But Rivian is going bankrupt. Gee, why is that? Oh, here's why. Listen.
I want to transition to this because Rivian is saying it's facing a $100 million hole after Trump rolled back fuel economy standards. Rivian, I've driven one. It's a good product, but boy, financially, they've got some real question marks.
It's a fantastic car. It's really cool. I haven't driven one. I can't afford one. They're incredibly expensive. But God bless the people who can afford one, right? But poor Rivian, their model was based on government mandates that were going to outlaw the combustion engine, tax incentives that were subsidizing your purchase of an electric vehicle, and then also these exuberant, these crazy standards coming out of the Biden EPA of CAFE standards, of tailpipe emission standards that were punishing their competition. So if your business model is based on the power of government coercion to get rid of your competition, then you don't really have a product, right? What you have is force. And so no offense to Rivian, but now that you have to compete in the free world, in the free market, and you're not as profitable, that's not the fault of the Trump administration. It's the fault of a lousy business model that depended upon government to kick your enemies to the curb.
Yet you built your business model on the sky-high dreams of a bunch of liberal idiots. So they were eventually going to get voted out.
Right.
So good luck, no bailout. Daniel Turner, great to see you.
No bailout. It's not the Trump administration's fault. It's the fact that you had a lousy business model that relied on the whims of politicians. If you didn't extort taxpayer dollars, your company wasn't going to survive. The only way you had a profit was to extort taxpayers. This is what's wrong with communists. This is what's wrong with central planners. The plan changes. And when the plan changes, companies are destroyed. Sometimes industries are destroyed. We've got history books. Pass them around. Everybody can read them today. Here's one more prediction before I leave today and go on to the next thing. Governor Gavin Newsom is going to be your Democratic governor, who's going to be your nominee for 2028 to be president. I'm telling you right now, Gavin Newsom is going to be the nominee for president in 2028. Go to Bite 9 if you would, Anthony. Play that for the good folks.
Well, I think you should start with Shreveport, Louisiana, in Speaker Johnson's district that has 6+ times the per capita murder rate of Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco. What about the carnage, Mr. President, in Shreveport? Why aren't you protecting the folks there? 8 of the top 10 murder states in this country, red states. What bullshit. And everyone knows it. Everybody knows it. Again, it's acts of authoritarianism. It's acts of power on a person that is trying to use his its formal authority, and it's depleting. And it's weak. It's increasingly weak, and it's increasingly desperate. And that's why it's important for us at this moment to meet him head on, not just rhetorically, but through substantive counteractions. And that's what we're doing in California with this ballot initiative.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom, he's going to be your nominee for president in 2028.
Over Pete Buttigieg or Gretchen Whitmer?
Oh, God, yes. Pete Buttigieg is everything that's wrong with anybody running. Pete Buttigieg, I mean, I've heard the interviews. Since he was a little kid, all he ever wanted to do was be president. Not because he has anything to offer, just because he wants to be president. Okay. We'll take a break and be back. Anthony can support Pete. John James coming up. We'll talk about running for governor with him straight ahead. All right, back at it here on a big Wednesday. Glad to have you along for the conversation. My next guest is a member of Congress, 2 terms now, from Michigan 10, John James. He's also running for governor in the state of Michigan as a Republican. A bit of a crowded field. We'll get to all that. Congressman, good to have you back on the program.
It's good to be back. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. All right, so let's start with this. You want to talk about Selfridge Air National Guard Base. A thing or two you know about, that's for sure. Flying combat aircraft, you know about that for sure. Thinking back to when the announcement was made, Donald Trump was here. Gretchen Whitmer caught a bit off guard. We said, say a few words, Governor. But it's an important thing for Selfridge. It's an important thing for Michigan for these F-15s to be coming here. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, President Trump was able to execute in the first 100 days what Joe Biden and Democrats were unable to do in 4 years. I remember having a conversation with President Trump back during the 2020 cycle, and I told him how important having a fighter mission was. And you know what President Trump did? He came out when he was in Warren a number of years ago, and he said, you're going to see some very fast planes. Well, President Trump is a promise keeper, and he kept his promise. And the time delay was just a blip on the radar screen for a man who delivers. President Trump, in his first 100 days, executed on the mission. I've been working very, very hard, pushing funding through. And frankly, the credit goes to the president for executing on his promise. And it was an honor to stand beside him and push this through Congress.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, John. How many of these F-15, the F-15EXs, is that the upgrade? Is that the turbo version? What is that?
Yeah, that's an Eagle II, made by Boeing right here in America, and we, in addition to a switch with a modernized tanker, a fueler mission, we are also, in addition, slated to get the fighter mission. As you may know, Steve, Michigan has lost three flight missions in as many decades, and they continue to pull back. Well, when you consider that Selfridge is a super base, when you consider that we are on an international border, and you also consider that Selfridge is supposed to be a part of our Golden Dome to keep our homeland safe, there is no better solution, not just to have a fighter mission here, what they call a missile truck, something that can be a hallmark of our homeland defense, but also what I'm working on is getting hypersonics onto Selfridge, looking more at getting drones and making not just our nation, but our region and our state more safe.
Now, that's pretty important what you just said there about the Golden Dome, because people would say, well, we're in Michigan, we're in the middle of the country. Why would you need these fighter jets? That's why. It's part of the air defense system of this country, and it's critical. And the A-10 Warthog is a great plane, but it's being retired. Of course, I've heard that for 20 years, but it is moving out of Selfridge, and so there needed to be something here. And how many of these F-15s are coming, did you say?
We have a squadron worth, and so when this is complete, we should have a squadron worth, a full complement of F-15EXs.
So that's pretty remarkable for Michigan. So that's good. All right, let's talk. We got a couple of minutes here left. You're running for governor. You're out there, kind of a crowded field. From what I can tell, you're doing well in the numbers. What's it going to take for you to rise to the top here and be the Republican nominee, and then, of course, win the race in November of next year?
Well, I don't think it's the right answer to trust folks who have been a part of a broken system to then come into Lansing and fix it. I have experience in the real world. I am a combat veteran, as you mentioned, and being the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, maybe having combat experience would help leading through crisis and, most importantly, avoiding that crisis in the future. Preparing for that crisis and avoiding it. Second, I've run a business. I've grown a family business. After I got back from Iraq, I grew my family's logistics company 10 times over. And I understand the burdens, the tax burden, the regulatory burden, the legal burdens that our small and large businesses and everything in between face. Having a governor who's run a business, I would imagine would be great to have a governor before they try to run a state. Understanding what it takes to lower barriers and lower these burdens, lower taxes, and execute on tough missions. really focusing on academic excellence, really focusing on economic mobility, public safety, government accountability and transparency, and also healthy families. I've executed in the toughest environments for my entire life. I have experience in the real world that matters, and being able to execute is what Michigan demands.
Yeah, barriers to business. I mean, we see, look, Indiana and Ohio are eating our lunch right now. So is Wisconsin. So is Pennsylvania. So is Tennessee. We need to be more competitive. We need business to come to Michigan and want to be here, but we're taxed too high. Our infrastructure needs repair. The roads weren't fixed as promised for 8 years. There's work to be done, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And frankly, trusting people who've been in Lansing to begin with or have never won an election to begin with is probably the wrong way to go. This is not child's play. Michigan has trusted Republicans to fix what Democrats broke from Blanchard to Granholm to now Whitmer. We need to have somebody who can actually win the election and lead and govern effectively, given their experience in the real world moving forward in the future. My goodness, it feels like everything is broken, but what's most important, what's most egregious, is the fact that my father moved to Michigan from the Jim Crow South for opportunity, and now is looking like our children and grandchildren are having to leave Michigan to find opportunity. That's not right. That's not fair. We need to put policies in place that benefit families and businesses so that we can keep the ones we have and we can get back the ones who've left. And again, focusing from a business standpoint on the tax, tort, and regulatory reform to make Michigan a more business-friendly state, to treat the individuals and the businesses like they're contributors to society and not criminals like the Democrats in Lansing have done, is going to be among the first changes we make.
John James, real quick, what's your website so people can find you?
JohnJamesMI.com. Again, that's JohnJamesMI.com. You can follow me on all the socials. Looking forward to staying in touch.
There you have it. John, thank you so much as always. Met him years ago on Mackinac Island. I've liked him ever since. JohnJamesMI.com if you want to find out more. I'll take a break and be back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. Yep, powered by 1775 coffee. That's what gets me going every single day. We have a really nice coffee machine. Not a $5,000 coffee machine like the folks in Michigan. They get $20 million grants. Not that nice, but real nice. It's a nice coffee machine. Anthony likes it. I like it. Ivy likes it. It's a nice coffee machine, right? It's one of the perks of living here. And 1775 coffee. It's the best. It really is the best coffee. And they've got this power-up creamer that's vanilla flavored. It's full of protein. If you want to go that way, it's great. Yeah. And they've got Rejuvenate, the first anti-aging coffee of its kind. They've got all sorts of great coffee. 1775 coffee. Got some deals right now. If you use the promo code Gruber, by the way, you can get a $250 bundle for $99. It includes coffee, gear, and so much more. There are only 1,000 of those bundles. When they're gone, they're gone. You get a couple of bags of Rejuvenate anti-aging coffee, plus a rare pea berry roast. Only 5% of the beans on earth qualify, and exclusive 1775 gear you won't find in stores. 1775coffee.com/Gruber. Grab yours now. Drink coffee that fuels your freedom. 1775 coffee. All right. Dollar General is recalling coffee. This is why you want $17.75 coffee and not Dollar General coffee. It has glass in it, apparently. Clover Valley Instant Coffee sold and distributed between July 9th and the 21st of this year at Dollar General retail stores in many states, including Michigan, being recalled after a customer alerted the company that glass was found in the product. No illness, no injuries reported so far. Customers who purchase the product should throw it out. Contact Dollar General for a full refund. My advice, don't drink glass in your coffee. Anthony, that's good advice, isn't it? Don't drink glass in your coffee.
I might not have known otherwise.
Well, right, that's why, don't eat your mattress or whatever the tag says on your mattress. Do not eat this mattress. Let's see here. We've got, what do I have here, Anthony? I've got to figure out what's happening.
Ryan Duffy.
Ryan Duffy from that wonderful company called Enbridge. An update on the Line 5 tunnel replacement project. It's huge in northern Michigan. Ryan Duffy up next with that. Thank you, Anthony. We'll take a break and be right back on the Steve Gruber Show. All right. You got something to say. Now's the time to say it. When it comes to Enbridge and their Line 5 replacement tunnel, welcome back to the conversation. Glad you're here on a beautiful Wednesday here on the Steve Gruber Show. It's the public comment period. And the question is, if you want to comment on this, what I think is a brilliant plan to replace Line 5, which, by the way, has never had an issue, but people wanted it replaced. So Enbridge stepped up and said, here's $500 million we'll put on the table. We're going to build this beautiful tunnel that will not only move energy, but it can have fiber optics and communication lines. And by the way, when we're done, we're going to hand the keys over to the state of Michigan. Here you go. This is yours. Oh, and we're going to build it with Michigan labor and Michigan companies to the best of our ability. It was the package deal, and yet some people still fought against it. But we're in the public comment section of that conversation. Ryan Duffy is a member of the Enbridge communication team. He joins me now. Ryan, welcome back to the program.
Thanks. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Always good to have you. It's been a process. It's been a process, that's for sure. Taken longer than you would think. But let's talk about this public comment period. That's where we are right now. If people want to weigh in and say they love it, they hate it, whatever it might be, now is your time to speak up and be heard, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Say what's on your mind. We'd like people to do that. So we're talking here about the permit from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE it's called. And you might remember we talked about this permit a few months ago because we actually received this permit back in 2021. But now the process here with the Army Corps and its permit has gone on so long that now this EGLE permit we had is going to expire in the early part of next year. So right around the time we probably need it and want to start breaking ground and start construction. So we're renewing this permit, and EGLE is taking public comment on it right now. So last night there was a virtual public comment meeting. It went on for hours and hours. So a lot of good comments, a lot of good supportive comments from a wide variety of different people and organizations who back the project. There also, of course, were concerns raised, but that's the process working. We feel all that input is good. It makes the project better. And so there is still time now to submit a written comment over to EGLE before the comment period ends on the 29th. And we do have a link on how you can do that right at the top of our page, enbridge.com/line5. So we put it right up there at the top, made it easy. You click on the picture of the tunnel, and you can go right over to EGLE and submit a written comment.
So there you go. You can go right to enbridge.com/line5, and you can put in a comment, weigh in. All right, so you mentioned EGLE a couple of times there, reviewing the permit. So this is interesting because the Army Corps, they slow walked this thing. I think that's fair to put, and not an insult, just they slow walked it, and as a result, the permit that was already in place, it has an expiration date, so that's going to wind out. And meanwhile, it's strange to me, we've talked about this a number of times, Ryan, there are still people like the governor and the attorney general still trying to push back against this tunnel, which I don't see. What is the downside of having this tunnel to replace Line 5 so we can move energy, communication lines, things that we probably haven't even heard of that will be invented in the future that can use that tunnel, right? I mean, what's the downside?
Well, right. We don't see one. This really is the best solution. I mean, if your goal really is, as a lot of people have said, to deactivate the existing pipelines on the lake bed, we really feel like this is truly the best solution. And a lot of people agree. It has a lot of support because this makes sure we continue to have that energy we need. And almost all of us are using energy and using it every day. So it makes sure that energy continues to be there when you turn up the thermostat or flip the light switch or want to go up north here on the last vacation of the summer, that you can do all of those things. That's what makes it possible, this energy that we're getting from Line 5. So we're going to continue to have that energy, but it really also steps up the environmental protections. And we all very much care deeply about our beautiful state and the environmental resources that we have here. So we want to protect those, and the tunnel really does it because it eliminates the chance you're ever going to have any kind of release into the water.
Yeah, I do prefer that when I flip the light switch, it works. I do prefer that. There's no question. Where does the Army Corps decision stand right now? It was, when I say slow walked, it was because, I mean, a number of years ago, they said, well, we'll get to it by 2026. So we're closing in on that. But will we have a decision in 26? Will it be the beginning of the year, middle of the year, late in the year? Where are we on all that?
Right. Well, that's what the Corps said. And we did apply for all these permits back in 2020. So it's been quite a process. The Corps, though, did put out that draft environmental impact statement at the end of May. So that was a big milestone, a big step moving us forward. So the Army Corps has been getting a lot of input from a lot of different people. But that draft EIS to us, it really does look solid. It's thorough. It assesses all the potential impacts you could have with construction and then operation. There were a lot of public comments coming in that draft EIS process about how the project will create a lot of good jobs. It's going to increase demand for all the local services and supplies you're going to need in the construction process. And it's going to really protect those coastal communities, the Great Lakes. It eliminates the chance you're going to ever have any kind of release. So it's clear from that draft EIS that the significant long-term benefits from the tunnel project really do outweigh any kind of short-term and really manageable disruption that there might be to the environment in the construction area.
Right.
So the Army Corps has said it will likely be making a decision as soon as the fall. So we're looking forward to that.
Well, that would be exciting. All right, so once that happens, whether it's the fall, spring, whenever it happens, what's your timetable? When does construction start? I mean, it's a one-of-a-kind boring machine, right? Each of these are one-offs or created for whatever environment they're putting a tunnel through or boring through, right? So you got this one-off opportunity. How long? A year to build this thing? 5 years to build this thing? What's the timetable?
Right. I mean, this is a once in a generation kind of infrastructure project. So it takes a lot of planning, a lot of third party review and oversight. So it's a process. It would likely take about 4 to 5 years to build the tunnel because you do have that massive tunnel boring machine that'll move through the straits. And it can only go as it's boring the rock about 40 feet a day. So it moves slowly through there. Drilling the rock out of the way, pushing it back out the back of the boring machine, and putting up the thick walls of the tunnel as it goes. So it alone, the boring machine, would take about 2 years to get through there. So it's a 4 to 5 year process. We want to get started as soon as we can.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's been a process thus far. Ryan, I greatly appreciate it. By the way, there is an information center up there when you cross the Straits of Mackinac. A lot of information up there. About 20 seconds. Tell the folks about that.
Right. Downtown St. Ignace. Anyone's invited to stop by, learn all you want to know about how we're going to build the tunnel and how we're going to do it safely. It's right at 214 State Street. I was there just yesterday. It's been busy. A lot of people coming in, a lot of people learning about the tunnel.
Good. All right. And again, if you want to get your comments, if you want to speak up and be heard, enbridge.com /line 5. It's still the public comment period. You can get your comments on the record. A pro-con or somewhere in the middle, whatever it might be. Ryan Duffy, always appreciate the update. Keep the faith. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks, Steve.
There you have it. Again, enbridge.com /line 5. You can put your comments on the record forever and ever. When we come back, Ivy will be here, of course. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Look, here's the thing. I think it's time to update the music around here. You know, there used to be a day when we did radio only, before we had all the streaming and television and so forth, we were able to play all sorts of rock songs because you have the BMI license through the radio station that you don't have for Facebook and X and YouTube because they flag you with, you know, copyright violation, which is too bad because I loved playing real music on this program. Anyhow, Ivy's here. We used to love playing real music. We had opens that had great songs on them and closes that had great songs on them. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that anymore because of all your, well, people have changed a lot in the way they consume media. So we had to change too. Anyhow, good morning.
Good morning. Does somebody complain about this or something?
No, I'm just tired of it. We need to freshen up. You know, that's all. We've been using the same. You get what are called royalty-free libraries for you folks that don't know, and so you can get like 1,000 songs, and you pay one time, and you don't have to have a copyright.
Yeah, you have to pay for them continuously, like a monthly subscription to be able to use them on live streaming. And then you're legal.
So anyhow, we just need to freshen up our library. Anyhow, what's on your mind?
So all the things that, you know, could kill you this morning as I read through this headline, FDA issues warning investigating a Walmart shrimp headed to Walmart that is radioactive.
What?
So, yeah, you want to go pick up shrimp at Walmart. It's contaminated with possible radioactive.
From where? It's not American shrimp, is it?
And it is not. So the FDA on Tuesday has started investigating this shipment of Walmart shrimp.
Walmart shrimp
tested positive for a man-made radioactive material. It was processed in Indonesia.
Of course. See, so most of your shrimp comes from Vietnam, Indonesia, that part of the world, Thailand, whatever. Go on.
Yeah, officials collected multiple samples of radionucleotide analysis confirming that one of the breaded shrimp did contain some radioactive material because they were processing in a very contaminated
swimming pool.
Area. And so, you know, this does take me back to...
But that's how they grow them, you know, if you guys don't know. They grow... Farming shrimp is basically, they farm them in a swimming pool. They just put in sludge for them to eat because, well, as one of my good friends says, they're nothing more than cockroaches that are in water. That's what she doesn't like shrimp much, apparently. But anyhow, go on.
No, I think this is true for fish farms and lots of other, you know, farming operations.
If you were smart, you'd put the fish in there so they could defecate and the shrimp could eat it. See? Cycle of life. Yummy. Right. So radioactive shrimp, okay, that's what's for dinner. What else?
Yeah, yummy. The other thing is hand soap was recalled over bacteria that could lead to life-threatening sepsis. So I wash my hands to be clean, and then I have to saw my arm off because it got infected.
Got sepsis, right. And Ivy, trust me, if Ivy's in the kitchen, I know a lot of people feel this way. If there's raw chicken, even in the room, she's like scrubbing her hands. She looks at the raw chicken, she scrubs her hands again. You got the antibacterial soap. We got Dawn by the 55-gallon barrel. You know. Oh look, there's raw chicken. Oh my God, wash my hands again.
I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way about raw
chicken. Specifically raw chicken. You don't freak out about it. Raw chicken freaks you out.
It freaks me out.
See? Freaks him out too.
I saw a hilarious video on TikTok once of this guy that was, I think I showed it to you.
You did.
He was cooking chicken and he had like black leather gloves up to his elbows and so many times he would wash it. Every time by the end he was like covered from head to toe in suds and everything was sanitized 100 times. Yeah, no.
The anal retentive chef, an old Saturday Night Live bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Have you seen the people who wash their chicken with soap and water?
Oh, I have.
Oh, come on. I'm not doing that. Do not do that. Come on.
Yeah.
Look.
Well, that's the same thing like if you
wash
your produce. If you don't trust the chicken,
don't eat the damn chicken.
Yeah. I think actually it's worse, my opinion, once you take the chicken out of the package, you just blot it, pat it down with paper towels, throw the paper towels away, then sanitize the area. But if you wash the chicken, then now all of that water's in your sink and it splashes all over and you have more contamination. So it's just, it's okay. I get it. I completely
You don't
understand.
Trust the chicken, don't eat the chicken. Come on, people.
So it's DermaClean Antiseptic Lotion Soap with vitamin E in 1,000 milliliter and 800 milliliter sizes. So if you have
So
this
wait a
product,
second, wait a second,
you
wait a
might
second.
want to
I'm
think about
washing
that.
my hands to be safe, and I'm getting sepsis. I saw my arm off. Voompa, 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 voompa.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it to your attention that there are a lot of things that happen out there that you have to be aware
Very
of.
uplifting program
recalls.
today, Ivy. Very uplifting. This will kill you. This will kill you. Very, very uplifting. Yeah.
Well, so it is.
Well done. What other uplifting news you got for me today?
You know, this whole thing with this the truck driver situation.
Oh my God.
You know, I wonder, you know, if he, because you watch his reaction, he doesn't
have a reaction. He's like,
and so you wonder if it's like he's confused or like accidents are really common in his country where he's from. You know, you just wonder because
he doesn't care. So we got a call last night from friends of ours that watch every morning. They say, "Man, you were ticked off. You were angry, Gruber. What was your problem?" Because it makes me mad. We got these people getting these licenses. I was mad. They called me out on it.
When we start to put a microscope on the effects of illegal immigration, and then I think I pointed this story out to you yesterday. I sent it to you. The state of Arkansas is you know,
Arkansas Trucker Association.
Right.
Yeah.
So they actually have had this influx of fake IDs, fake CPLs that are coming out of Mexico. So just like, you know, these young people that get their fake IDs so they can go out and drink underage, we're finding also that there are fake CPLs coming out of Mexico that then are like
CDL.
legitimate. CDL, sorry, thank you.
CPL's a gun.
Right, which I actually need to renew.
Good idea.
Thank you for that correction.
No problem.
But yes, so it's actually a big problem because just similarly to, you know, fake ID, how do you know whether this is an actual valid license or not?
There's the idiot. Oh, yeah, bam, there go 3 people dead. He just like, he goes, man, I'm going to be late for lunch. Damn it. Terrible. Anyhow, and the other thing that really irritates me, I'm going to leave it with this. These illegals that have multiple DUIs and that are back on the road and people get killed. It's just, it's.
They should, in my opinion, be deported.
Even
if you're here on a visa, you have a DUI, see you later.
Gone. Thanks, Ivy. Uplifting program once again today. Love you.
Love you.
We'll be back. You know, I think what we ought to do here at some point in the future is just leave the mics open during the breaks so people can get the inside baseball conversations we have here about raw chicken and everything else.
No, because then the people out there will get mentally violated like I just was during the break.
Wasn't it great? Brock might never be the same. He might have PTSD after what just happened. It's all right. One of the listeners says, by the way, raw chicken is the greatest way to relieve constipation. So there's always a pro and a con, right? A pro and a con. Yeah. People do freak out about raw chicken, I guess. Ivy says the worst part is when she walked out. She goes, the worst part I didn't tell him is you'll be cooking in the kitchen. You'll wipe your hand on your pant leg, which I do. Guilty of that. Boys will be boys, and I don't have an apron, although I'd probably look pretty good in one. What is wrong with you? Mentally violated, yes. It's time to have Scaramucci back, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we are having a little programming note. He's not here today. Is it tomorrow? Mockler, the little Gen Z, radical leftist, is going to be back on the program with me.
He was pending for today.
Yeah, what happened? I thought he was on here, and I don't see it on the list.
He's not even on the calendar for this week anymore.
Wonder what that is. That's interesting, I guess. Anyhow, we'll have him back. Adam Mockler, Gen Z, radical leftist, Trump-hating individual, whatever. He's entertaining. It was to me, anyhow. It's something different and fun as opposed to just, barking into the echo chamber all the time. I get to bark and somebody barks back a little bit. It's like a little dog that barks back. Well, at least there's something barking back. You got that going on. Anyhow, we're almost to free fall. Can you believe the week is half gone? Unbelievable. Greatly appreciate you being here as always. Make sure you please support the people that support this program and make it possible every single day. And I mean that. Please support the people who make this program possible. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, only you can save America. And just ask yourself today, who do you want in your foxhole? It's important. We'll talk tomorrow.